The 5 Gators that you need to watch is brought to you by our friends at Apparel Group Security Solutions. And at number 5, you've got Graham Mertz. You have to have the quarterback in there, right?
Yeah, it's by default. But I mean, I'll say this. Tennessee, he's a statue, so it's going to be all about the pressure. But he does have a nice touch in the vertical passing game. He's very efficient. Tennessee secondary still is a question, still hasn't really been tested. So you never know. I mean, you especially have to have the quarterback when you're playing Tennessee.
Yep, very true. With Graham, I would say this. I think Tennessee is going to be able to put the heat on him early. He might be the number one factor in my mind just because I think he could make a lot of mistakes. So I think Tennessee's going to be able to pressure him to the likes of which he's never seen before. Number 4, Jordan Castile at safety, a highly touted freshman in Florida's 2023 class. But it's a freshman at safety, your last line of defense. I don't want none of that. Rashad Baker was fantastic, but I think LeBrandon Tofield is still dragging him through Baton Rouge somewhere. When Baker started as a safety, I don't think you want that, but that's where Florida is.
Yes, the question is Jordan Castile Eric Berry or is he not? If he's not Eric Berry, you test him. Because nobody, even as a freshman, no one tested Eric Berry. They did, but they paid for it. And Jordan Castile, yeah, I think you test him. We're talking about Florida wants to take away the deep ball. Well, you need the safeties to not get beat, or you need the safeties to not bite on anything to take away the deep ball, right? Even if you're selling out to stop it, isn't that key, Dave? The safeties can't bite, and you don't think a freshman is vulnerable to do that quite a few times?
Yep. No, absolutely. And somebody on the message board said, goodness, I don't think we appreciated Hooker like we should have. So consistent and accurate. Our red zone O is terrible this year. Oh, man, I thought you were talking about me. That's why I put that message up. I thought you were talking about this Hooker, Dave Hooker. I didn't read the whole thing before I put it up. I'll be darned, man. I just dropped the ball on that one. Leadership experience, specialization, Herald Group Security Solutions, addressing problems through unique mission-specific mitigation techniques, also making your children safer one school at a time. We hear of all these terrible tragedies. Go to your school administrator and say, Herald Group Security Solutions. Put the pressure on them because they can work with private schools now, but not public schools yet. But we want that to change for the safety of your children. Herald Group Security Solutions. And we go forward with the next one. That is the top Gators that you need to keep an eye on. So we are at number 3, Shamar James.
Linebacker. Yes. Now, he's not a freshman. He was a highly touted freshman in the 2022 class, but it was always going to be like when it was like a Nico situation. Year to learn and then become a starter. He became the starter this year, and he's kind of exploding for Florida's defense. Done a really good job, has 19 total tackles already. I think that Tennessee's obviously going to want to get the run game going. They're going to want to get that intermediate passing attack going. It's all going to come down to whether or not Shamar James can give them trouble or not. They got to They got to account for him every time.
Ben said, Dave, we appreciate all you as well. Come on now, I feel bad. No, man, I was joking with you. Hey, on the message board, let me ask you this as a kind of a weird rhetorical question. How many of you have, because most people are casual football fans, they don't spend 40 hours a week like Caleb and I do working it. How many of these dudes have you heard of? And used to be when you go into the Florida game, you've heard of all of them, right? I mean, back in the day, not just the quarterback, but you knew a Percy Harvin, you knew a Brandon Spikes, you knew all these dudes. I know them, but I'm wondering how many of you guys actually know them, which speaks, not that I'm testing your knowledge, but just which speaks to the fact that Florida's throwing in a bunch of dudes that haven't done anything yet. I mean, Caleb, that's a fact.
Yeah.
Really, you probably had to do your research a little more than most Florida games. With these lists, did you have to do a little bit more research?
Right, exactly. You're right, because I did have to do some research for this one because they are testing a lot of people that are just untested. They have a couple of proven people we're about to get to, but you're right. You're not basing like I said, Tim Tebow, or you say LeBrandon Tofield's still dragging Rashad Baker. Like I said 2 segments ago, I think Brandon James is still running, and it's which, by the way, during that time, for those who don't know, Tennessee didn't have a special teams coach in 2006. They ran it collectively because they thought it didn't matter. Yeah,
it's real
great
idea.
for them.
It's just a great idea. Just take a third of the game and we'll just throw it up in the air and grab something. Who's number 2? We finally get to a wide receiver, which Florida was once known for, and now they're known for being detail-oriented. That's sure, Coach Napier. That's the way he rolls. Who's number 2?
Ricky Pearsall's number 2. Last year, he had over 100 yards receiving. He's already got over 200 yards receiving this year. He is an elite weapon in space. Obviously, Tennessee secondary has some questions. Florida did go for over 400 yards against him through the air last year. So Ricky Pearsall, I mean, again, it's pretty obvious that he's going to be a huge weapon for them, and Tennessee's got to account for him.
Yep, no doubt about it. And then number 1, he's a princely young man.
Yes, Princely Ubanile, the defensive lineman. And I said that very fancy. And he is what I call him still like a hybrid defensive end. I'd say it's kind of what Tennessee wanted to get out of Dominic Bailey, but I just feel like they haven't yet, which is a guy that is more of a defensive end and edge rusher, but can line up in the middle at the same time. And very versatile. And if Tennessee's run game, 1, Joe Milton is still questionable with his pocket presence. And 2, Tennessee's got to make sure. 2, Tennessee's got some questions on the interior of their offensive line right now, haven't been tested yet. And 3, they need the run game to work if they're going to win this. If they're going to win, if Joe Milton is off like last week and Florida manages to take away the run game, it'll be because of Princely. And if they do manage to take away the run game, Tennessee's not winning.